In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful, peace and blessings be upon Muhammad. It's good being with you again, friends, brothers, sisters, colleagues. I shall read to you a couple of poems and a short essay from this book entitled Life and Faith. Here we go. The name of the poem is Train Station. In a morose mood can I compare you, O life, to a train station bustling with movement, people in throngs entering and exiting, boarding and descending from numerous trains, myriad destinations and multiple directions, as though a metaphor for life's infinite variety. The train of life is boarded on a wondrous journey of turbulent, uncertain existence, beatitude, sadness, and joy encountered on the way, fraught with the senseless and meaningful alike, an inescapable amount of both happiness and grief, engendered by dint of personal volition and inaction or action committed. The train moves in meandering pathways, fertile and desert land on its way, consuming energy for human benefit, people commanding its diverse trajectories. Like stars orbiting in the vast galaxies, constellations of celestial bodies, God did not permit us a say in the origin of life, for He determines the purpose of all, and did not seek the help of humans in creation's act, a deed of mercy in His immense universe. If only they believe, if only they listen, if only they respond to His call that He alone be worshipped, that His legislative will be obeyed, that His religion be followed. For all I have savored and experienced of this life, I choose to tread heaven's way. And though the self whispers the evil of doubt, faith is the fruit of human choice and God's guidance alike. This poem that I shall read is entitled We Will Overcome, and it refers primarily to the village of Na'lin in Palestine. Is it not a pernicious application of justice that the village of Na'lin should be so abused? The crime is to resist land expropriation and the building of an apartheid wall, dividing a brave little hamlet, defiant in the face of iniquitous occupation. Olive groves that have been possessed for centuries, planted and nurtured to sustain a livelihood, presently threatened by a vicious penchant to seize, to transfigure, to colonize, to violently pacify. Na'lin, however, is a citadel of steadfastness, bolstered by activists, conscientious objectors, brave Jews and foreigners who have joined a righteous cause to defend a village fighting for its integrity, its survival, for its place in the midst of immense power that dictates profoundly unfair terms, that treats the victim as an oppressor and subjects the oppressed to untold suffering. The separation wall will not overcome a nation's indomitable will to eventually prevail. In God Almighty, we place our faith that a just cause will be redeemed. Presently, I shall read to you, dear friends, an essay entitled Preventable Thorns of Future Life. There are moments in the annals of human history when nations face, sometimes willfully, at others under compulsion, the bitter burdens of conflict. Each nation, in the ebb and flow of historical movement, has had a taste of both triumph as well as defeat. At each moment of such conflict, individuals and states have grappled with the imperatives of an ethic of conduct, or have at other times been, to grave consequence, oblivious to the importance of a moral premise for behavior in times of war. The modern world has, in this century, been profoundly shaken by the brutalities of modern warfare, the extent of which brutality and suffering has been unmatched in the preceding millennia of human civilization. The two world wars, the camps of incarceration of the Stalinist Soviet Union, Nazi Germany, and the multiple conflicts of this century have visited on both innocent and culpable life a heavy toll of suffering and death. Likewise, the unfolding conflicts in Palestine, Iraq, Lebanon, and the Balkans have entailed a saga of oppression, the unethical targeting of innocents, the expropriation of legitimately acquired wealth, and substantial abuses of human rights. When children are targets of war, when the honor of women and men is a weapon in the arsenal of foes of dimmed moral vision, when the rights of civilian population under military occupation are violated, men and women of sense must pose the question: is there a code that can prevent human descent into the code of the jungle under conditions of conflict? Or have those participating in current conflicts forgotten the lessons of previous wars? Or can't they be awakened to a code of conduct, adherence to which may be disaster preventive for future generations? To speak in simple terms, there are ground rules for peaceful coexistence between states, which may be enhanced when basic and politically tolerable restraint is shown by politicians and military personnel of all ranks in times of conflict. In other words, ethnic cleansing, attempting to starve a portion of a civilian population as a weapon of battle, rape of women, destruction of vital food crops, violence against children, plunder of the private property of a population under occupation, and degrading treatment of prisoners of war all contribute to writing the following chapter of human conflict and suffering. Islam has an ethic of conflict which is both humane, reasonable, and merciful to protagonists in a conflict. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, the first caliph of Islam, captured an important part of this ethic in these words, which he addressed to his troops in the 7th century AD. I quote, "O people, be alerted to 10 matters, so learn them from me. Do not betray, do not cheat, do not defile dead corpses, do not kill a small child or an aged man, nor a woman. Do not cut or burn trees of palm. Do not cut a fruit-bearing tree. Do not slaughter a sheep or a cow or a camel except for your nourishment. And you will encounter people who are dwellers of cloisters, i.e. monks and priests, so do not harm them. End of quote. All of the preceding, in my view, is relevant to the issue of Jerusalem, which the one God of humanity has sanctified and blessed as the land of peace, holiness, and human surrender to heaven. Such blessing is anchored in human striving to accept the races of earth, to build monuments of equity and tolerance, to defend what is inviolable in God's law, to water the plant of human glorification of God Almighty through deeds which do justice to an orphan, which support a righteous struggle to prevent the bulldozing of a home, which spread knowledge that is useful to people in their livelihoods, but which also helps people in their struggles for salvation in the hereafter. It is very often a paradox that perpetrators of injustice and its victims are sometimes driven through the blinding influence of power or the sense of grievance at victimization to unethical methods and views of struggle. In a word, any struggle that is injurious to religion, property, inviolable life, the dignity of people, the integrity of the family is reprehensible under circumstances of both military preponderance or under conditions of occupation. Muslims and people of goodwill will continue mourning the occupation of the holy city of Jerusalem, and will hopefully continue to reform themselves and to strive that it is restored to righteous and tolerant sovereignty.